Anyway, moving on, I'll just quickly share a little bit about my story, who I am and why I'm here to talk to you, right? I was born and raised in Dandeli. It's a jungle in South India. Therefore, I had a very deep connection with nature. This is why I'm still barefoot. That is me. There are many embarrassing kid photos in here, but we'll get more to music, I do promise. Cool, so that's how I started. 7 to 14, awkward teenager. Loved Candy Shop by 50 Cent. First album, Encore by Eminem. And oh my god.
John Cena?
Does anyone else have an embarrassing first email ID? Raise your hand. Jose, what was yours?
I don't know.
Oh, come on. Gangsterboy54 at yahoo.com. Anyone? Embarrassing email IDs?
You like John Cena?
Dude, are you kidding? John Cena rules, man. You can't see me, but I can see you. Dude, this guy knows. I love WWE, and I was hoping bringing this up that because of a little age gap that like everyone's gonna know John Cena, and I'm so glad that his legend lives on. But anyway, music started early for me, and as you can tell, it didn't really start with Beethoven and Mozart. It started very much in the pop world and the hip hop world. But everything changed when I became still an awkward teenager, but a little less awkward. I went to boarding school in KIS, and my homie from Cody is actually here, Jose, who's an alumni from KM as well. And my roommate at the time, Talib, you remember Talib? He showed me new music. We were roommates, because that's what you do in dormitories and boarding school. He turned the lights off, he gave me really good earphones, and he said, just listen to this. And for the first time, I deeply listened. And the song is called Strobe by an artist called Deadmau5. If you've heard of Deadmau5, it's like really full on, and you're probably thinking, what the hell? But Strobe is a very different song. It's like synth choirs and choruses designed to perfection on both of your ears. And something happened to me, and I went, man, if you can have this level of precision with sound and make me feel that, something shifted in me that night. He also then showed me some other artists that are my heroes today, Paul Kalkbrenner, Nicholas Jarre. If you're in the electronic world, you might know them. If not, no worries, but you can check them out if you want some new music. So I then downloaded Virtual DJ. This is probably the feeling of like Darsh getting his first guitar, right? For me, I was like, what? My little shitty compact laptop can mix audio, and I can like have an equalizer and cut the lows and add reverb, or I can loop a kick drum so hard on itself that it goes from doof, 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 doof to like brrr, and then it becomes a synth sound. I just couldn't believe that a computer could do all this, and I started becoming a geek. In other words, I started falling in love with sound, right? 16, I moved to Australia. So I thought I wanted to be an actor. And I went to Australia to a school for the arts, but in 2 weeks I found I don't want to be an actor, but I signed up for the whole course. Luckily in that school, we could do different units every semester within theatre and film, and it's in the last semester that I did sound design. And something about this DJ sound geek with like this fascination for theatre and stories came together, and I learned sound design, and I learned how sound is actually plays such a powerful role in film and in theatre. And I mean, we are in A.R. Rahman's second home right now. I think this is the best place, and the people that resonate with this idea that sound is actually a character. It's not just an additional element, right? So I discovered Ableton. My friends and I started a theatre company. That's us rolling a bathtub to a theatre show. I became like the sound guy, and I just started falling in even deeper in love with sound, but I didn't really know why until I found cymatics. Have you guys heard of cymatics?
Yes.
My people, no way. I talk about these words and like no one knows what I mean, and over here it's like, I feel so understood.
The first one is like self-intensified.
Yes.
Sound, because of sound design.
Yes, exactly. You've heard about it, my friend? Like you've seen some videos online, or what's been your experience with cymatics?
Yeah, I've seen some videos online.
Yeah, cool. Have you ever tried putting a water bottle on a speaker? It's good fun, man. It's free. Won't damage the speaker, I promise. So yeah, basically for the unacquainted, cymatics is the science of visualizing sound waves, okay? And it's super, super trippy. If you really get into it, you understand that sound is actually the creator of form and shape in the universe, and that music is just like God having fun with sound. It's just multiples of frequencies. That's all that music is. Some of you may be following, some of you, maybe when you do a little bit more with sound engineering, you'll realize that, hello. Oh, I'm okay. Thank you though. Okay, maybe I'll keep it to the side. Thank you so much. That was the best time I've ever been offered tea. Like, that's hilarious. Anyway, so I got really fascinated, and my friends and I made cymatic experiments. He was an architect, I was a weird sound geek, and so we made. This is for my show. We made Claudini plates, we made water and a woofer, and we made an art gallery on the way in and out, so that people can see. Like on the left, that's an oval plate with salt on it, right? That's been vibrated by sound waves, and that's the pattern that coincidentally forms, and that's a turtle shell, like from nature. And I realized when I saw that it's not a coincidence, it's design, and that sound is actually, I believe, the blueprint of nature's design. Okay? Any questions on cymatic before I go on? Because maybe I think I lost my train of thought when the chai came in. All good, everyone?
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, at that time really, I'm not even afraid to admit it, my love for sound went more from this like fascination to like this like real deep aha moment where I felt like it's something in my heart. It's like really something spiritual. I stopped for 5 years, everything to do with music, because I got an opportunity to work with Uber. It's super random. They were launching in Australia and New Zealand, and I joined the operations team, and I just thought I should stop making music for 5 years while I like earned some money rather than being a broke student. And I would encourage that, like, you know, there's nothing wrong with working a job for a while if it means you're saving towards your bigger dreams and goals, because like this period is what's enabling me to live the life that I'm living now. So even if you might get similar opportunities, weigh it up, but always prioritize yourself and your true goals is what I would say. I paused making music for 5 years, but as you can see, that is Ableton on my screen, and that's the only reason I'm smiling, because I could not do an office job if I was not in touch with sound. So yeah, to stay sane, why there is Ableton on my screen is I pitched to Uber that we should do a driver podcast instead of sending them emails, so that I could get a budget to get microphones and like to interview people and like edit a podcast and make a little podcast intro, outro and transition sounds, because that's literally the silly stuff that keeps me happy more than like profits.
Has your boss ever got you to do this? Or did he allow?
Dude, it's on the big screen. It was allowed. Like it became my job. Yeah, which was really whack. So yeah, my job was in driver engagement or community engagement for the drivers of Australia and New Zealand. And so one of the things that I did is I ran the driver podcast. We also had other aspects of my job. It wasn't all sound.
It's easy for you to drop 5 minutes of music like you were making the music.
Oh, we'll get to that. It's not easy, is the short answer. Because every year I would start and I would have like my goals for the year. And I'd say, this year I'm going to finish 2 songs. And I get to the end of the year and I'm like, this year I did nothing. Hands up if you've had that experience, like setting music goals and struggle to reach them, because I feel it's a slog. As much as we love the idea of making music, I don't know if you agree with me, the act of making music, the gnarly part, not just the part when you have a bit of inspiration, but like following through, finishing your harmonies, your melodies, your bass line, your drums, recording it, mixing and mastering it to perfection, marketing, it's a pain. Like it's not a pain, it's hard work, right? So I just wasn't able to do that while I give 100% of myself to Uber, because I'm like a 100% or nothing guy. I can't do this. The day I'll work a job and the night I'll write a banger. Like, it just doesn't happen for me. Anyway, one of the cool things that I'm integrated now into my art from this experience is I learned the power of the human voice. Just recording voice, editing voice again and again. It did something to me, it stuck with me. But to Dimple's point, at year 26, 5 years after working at Uber, my soul just slapped me. That's the best way I can explain it. I was sitting at home back in Bangalore on a holiday, seeing my parents, and I just sat up and I thought like, "Tu kya kar raha hai?" Like, I don't know if you speak Hindi. But like, what are you doing with your life, you know? You said you'd work there for 1 or 2 years. They keep paying you a little bit more, you know, every year 10% more. And then it's like golden handcuffs. You just want to work there because like your bills are getting paid and it's a little comfortable. But is that really what I want to do with my life? Like become some big director at Uber? No. I know that my passion is with music and sound from all the stories I told you before that. And so I had what I call a moment of clarity, where I just thought to myself, if I could do anything with my life, like forget about constraints, forget about money, because we keep thinking about those kinds of constraints. Just blue sky thinking for a sec. If you can do anything with your life, what would you do? It's such a simple thought, but it's really powerful. So I knew that I had to reconstruct my life. Like I was suddenly unattached to everything. Job, relationship, friends, city, I loved them to bits, but I knew that this was a bigger calling and I had to reconstruct my life. But first I knew I had to answer this question, tu kaun hai? Or if you don't speak Hindi, who are you? okay? Because my identity had so become my job and my city and my friends. Who am I without those things? Because that's 80% of my time, so who am I without it? So that's the reason why I quit my job, I started fresh, and I bought a camper van named Spoons. So this is still in Australia where van life culture is a thing. It's like my favorite topic, and I will try not to do like a full tangent into it. But if you have questions at the end, 100% happy to chat. I bought a camper van, 36 years old, no power steering, no AC, there were windows, no power windows, no horn. You also don't need a horn in Australia, it's just like kangaroos on the road. And I built a music studio into the back of the camper van. Fun fact, everything that was in that music studio is in this bag, so we'll get to that. Like, this stuff can scale down, except like the big keyboard, but that's about it. And then I knew that like for 5 years I paused on Ableton and I'm a little rusty. And before that, I was just self-taught. I wanted to learn properly. Maybe like the kind of education you're having now in production. I don't know, right? And I never had that. I was just self-taught. Didn't know any music theory, as I said. So this is just, I'm 28 now, this is 26. I studied with Beat Lab Academy, which is like an Ableton school online. There's so many of these days. Seed to Stage is another good one. You guys don't need that because you're here. So I'm guessing you're sorted on the education front. And it's a blessing, trust me, because it can be really expensive and like, it's a thing. So I knew that I just wanted to master Ableton. I knew that Ableton was what called me. Everyone familiar with Ableton? Yeah? Yeah, it's a DAW just like Logic and Pro Tools. Yeah, cool. But in my opinion, way cooler. No, I'm kidding, it's all good. No DAW wars over here. And then I just wanted to be alone. Like I grew up in the jungles. I wanted to be back with nature and I wanted to just allow myself to answer that question of like, who are you without these identities, without this job title on your email signature, you know? And I just was alone, went through a lot of like emotional stuff because being alone and bored, no signal, isolation, making your own food in the wild is not always easy, it can be challenging. But through that challenge, I wrote and composed 6 songs in creative isolation after 5 years of doing nothing. So it was a start. Did I think I was gonna finish an album at that time? Yes. Did I? No, but it was a start, right? So that was that. This is some photos of the camper van if you wanted to see. If you've seen the movie Into the Wild, anyone seen it? Heard of it? Got to see Into the Wild. My bus looks a lot like her. And that's my music studio in the back. Computer, Rode microphone, keyboard, speaker. What more do you really need these days? Little keyboard as well. And yeah, that was my little home. And this was the spot that I managed to find. It was such a blessing to find a spot like this. That's my camper van. That's the drone photographer. Normally he's not there. And that's someone that just camped for a day, but otherwise I had this block to myself. I had a solar panel and I lived opposite a 5G tower, which some people will say is bad for you, but it was great for internet. So, so suddenly I was living like completely in the wild. It was the most liberating experience in my life, where I wrote the 6 songs. Also the most emotional, a lot of tears when you write the song, a lot of reliving stories, and I want to be really honest and authentic about that. It's not all like, I'm so cool. It's not that. It's like, it gets tough. When it rains, it's not fun. Anyway, so that takes me to what I'm doing now, right? So now I travel with Mukti. That's what I call my backpack. Mukti means freedom.
Yeah.
And this is his kid. I call him Muktolini. And Muktalini and I are everything I need, really, to be happy. And so it's pretty heavy. It's 16.5 kilos, the backpack, and then these two add up as well. But I think it's a small price to pay for freedom. Because I came back and I wanted to get a camper van called Chammach and set it up in India. Because it's spoons in Hindi. My Hindi jokes are really not going to land today. But anyway, instead I realized that it's just not feasible in India, unfortunately. And so I thought the next best thing I can do is backpack and find beautiful places to live in. And the other good thing about India is like food is actually affordable. That's not a thing abroad. You can't just eat out every day, healthy, good food and be okay. It will break your bank account. So I thought, with all that considered, I don't really need a van. I can just find nice, cheap homestays in small villages. So for example, for the last month, I've been staying in Oroville. I'm an open book about money and all these things, so I'm just going to tell you, I paid $12,000 a month for rent, including breakfast and dinner and unlimited Wi-Fi. And I had like a 1 BHK and a balcony and a sunset terrace and all this stuff. So there are ways you can travel affordably and efficiently. But of course, it all depends on, we all have different cards, so it all depends on the cards you have. I respect that. but I just wanted to share that. So now what I've been doing is last year I composed the album. This year I've been backpacking while mixing and mastering the album. I don't know how to mix and master, so I was studying with a school called Seed to Stage to upskill at this. The reason I'm calling out these schools is to point out that like we live in a world where you can learn anything you want, right? You're at KM, you probably have it right over here, but if there's something you feel like you're not getting, there's nothing stopping you from going online and finding a very affordable resource to fill in that gap. So go back to your skill profile, see what you're missing if you want to upskill at it, and like just pull the trigger. Nothing's stopping us from learning. So yeah, I know I'm probably going on quite a bit, but just to show you kind of where I'm at and what I'm doing from here before we go on to the more music and business stuff is my first aim was get the song from my head to my laptop. Really simple, right? You would think. Studied with BeatLab to do that, and then get it from my laptop to a stage where it's popping out of speakers, like mixed and mastered. Still learning that dark art, just own that. But this year what I want to do, and this gets into the more music business side, which I'll go over, is I want to release my album officially, April 2023, it's coming out, and I want to pitch it to playlists and press. I want to grow through digital marketing, which means finding the right audience for my music, because guys, your family and friends are not your audience. You will find that as you go. Do not base your judgment on what your family and friends think, or even people in KM, right? Because your audience may be some niche in South America that you don't even know exists. And through things like digital marketing, you can find them, you can see what's working, and you can lean into that audience. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. And pitching to film and TV. So there's an industry called sync licensing. Hands up if you've heard of sync licensing. No? Cool. It's just a fancy word for getting your music placed in film and TV. When you watch a Netflix show and like a well-known song or even not a well-known song comes on at the back, that's not being composed for the show. It's just a song that's taken from somewhere. How does that work? Is there money involved there? The answer is yes, and we'll get to it. I don't know any of these things, right? And so I'm learning through RE State. And so the whole second half on the music business that I'm going to show you is just summaries of this book that I've read and this guy that I've been following called Ari Herstand. I'll show you in a sec. So I'm learning as well. And so if someone in the room knows something more, like please let me know.